Hi everyone, in this video we are going to do discussion for the exercise that we did for lesson 4.1c. So make sure that you go through this video to check out your answer and also the video's answer. And after that, try to do your correction and learn from the mistake that you have. Alright, kids, so let's try to look at question 1. The table below shows some time series data where t represents time. The question 1 is to find the 3-point moving average and 6-point standard moving average when t equals to 4. Alright, so by looking at this question, then you should know that you shouldn't be actually finding all the values. So if you still need to find all the values, then to identify a certain one, then make sure that you understand how we are going to do if let's say you only need 1 point, because in the exams you doesn't want to spend extra time to find the thing that is not required in the question. Okay, so question 1, the 3-point moving average. So this is quite direct. So which means that you can imagine that what's the number that you are going to write here if let's say you are doing a 3-point moving average. So if let's say you want the moving average here, then which means that 3-point that you will be using, it will be from here up to here. Alright, so which means that the 3-point moving average, I'm going to write a shortcut here. So 3-point moving average will be equal to 18 plus 24 plus 21. Alright, so because it's a 3-point moving average, so divide by 3, then I'll be able to get my answer as 21. Okay, so I understand that some of you actually straight away put in your answer in the exercise sheet, but in future make sure that you try to write down your full working. So that's the thing to be safe, okay? Because you doesn't know that sometimes the marking key requires you to write down the working for your answer, sometimes no. So that's why always try to write down your working as complete as possible. Okay, so number 2 is 6-point centered moving average. So you know that from the shortcut formula that you have, right, if let's say we are doing a centered moving average for 6 points, which means that we'll be able to get 7 points. So in this case, the data that you need, if let's say you want to write down your answer here, then it will be 7 points. Your center is here, right? So there will be 3 points in the front, then 3 points after. So which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and your answer is in the middle. Then we need to half the first one and the last one. Okay, so this is from the shortcut formula. I hope that you still remember. So please try to avoid the careless mistake that your working is actually correct. Then after that, when you press your calculator, I'm not sure what happened, then there's some problem with your final answer. So make sure you always check that out. So 0.5 multiply 14 plus 17 plus 18, 24, 21, 19, and then half the last one as well. So 0.5, 16. Okay, so remember you have the first one and the last one, so which means adding up you also have only 6 points here. So divide by 6. Alright, so from here then you should be able to get 19. So that should be your last answer. So there's a lot of people this answer didn't get it. So please check it out. Alright, so that will be the idea for this question. I think it's quite straightforward. Now let's move on for question 2. A service center manager recorded the number of the customer over the time periods T and produced the following spreadsheet to compare the different moving average. Alright, so these are the data that we have. So timeline, they didn't give us whether it's in week or it's month, but basically you have like data value 1, T1, T2, T3, and so on. Okay, so this is the raw data of number of customer and the result for 3 point, 4 point, 5 point, 6 point moving average. Okay, first question. What is the purpose of calculating moving averages for time series data? So I think this is quite straightforward. So we are doing moving average or deseasonization basically to smooth out our data. So the answer that you can write in is to smooth. Okay, to smooth out time series data. So to make your answer to be much more complete, then why are you smoothing out the data is basically to see the underlying trend. Okay, so to smooth out the data so that the underlying trend is more apparent. Alright, so no worries if you only write down like one part of it. So this question only 1 marks, so it can be accepted if let's say you only write out to smooth the time series data, or you just write down so that the trend is much more clearer. So that would be the idea to decide whether your answer is correct or wrong. Alright, so that's the part. Okay, I would say that if you are doing the seasonalization, then you can use the word remove the seasonal effect lah. But in moving average, you can say so, but normally we don't use the word because in moving average, you are actually try to make your data become like less fluctuated. So there's no so much regarding to remove the seasonal index like what we did in the seasonalization with which you divide the seasonal index that you get. So that's why in moving average, it will be much more accurate if we use the words to smooth out the data rather than to remove the seasonal effect. Because to remove the seasonal effect will be much more accurate when we try to put into the context of deseasonalization. Okay, so part B, determine the values A, B, C in the above table. So yeah, this is something that you need to know in your real exam, right? It's going to be, this is actually from your past year paper. So make sure that you know how to find out your previous thing and how to solve equation, because the question wouldn't direct in a case like your question 1 that should already give you like that's the thing that's the moving average that you need to do. But in sometimes that will be the raw data that you need to find. But as long as you understand how all these values come from, then you should be able to solve A. Okay, so for A, it's quite direct. So you can see 3-point moving average will be the easiest one. So we will try to find A from this value. So which means that how do we get 838 is basically from 3-point average, which you will be using this 3-point. So that's why to find A, then it will be 864 plus 834 and then plus A. And when you do 3-point moving average and the answer is 838. So from here, then you'll be able to solve for A. All right, so that's the idea. So I know that maybe some of you doesn't have enough space, but then just try to write in full in future. Okay, so the same thing, you can just bring 3 over to the other side, multiply, then minus minus, then from here, then you'll be able to get A equals to 816. So in terms of the solution, it's okay because that's the part that you use your calculator to help you to solve, right? So what is important is to write down the original equation to state that how do you get this value. Okay, then the next one, part B. So B is this value, and this value you need to do 5-point moving average. So it means that this is the place, so the 5-point will be this 5-point. All right, so start from 5828 plus 918 plus 927 plus 879 plus 852 and then divide by 5. So from here, you can get your answer at 880 and 0.8. Okay, so that's the answer for part B. Okay, part C. So similarly, this is centered moving average, and I'm not sure, some of you not sure how to do this or what. So remember, if you are doing 6-point centered moving average, then you will be taken like 7-point. Then you try to halve the first and the last point. So which means that in this case, if you want to find C, so this is the location, right? So you will be using 7-point here. So this is the middle, so that's why 3-point front, then 3-point at the back. So you have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have the first one, half the last one. Okay, so 0.5 times 8.840 927 936 894 867 828 918. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So divide by 6. All right, so after you get it, then you will get 888.5. All right, so that will be the answer for part B. Okay, C, from those in the table above, which one is the most appropriate moving average for the manager for the service center to consider? Okay, So some ways to try to do it is, you know, that how do you decide how many points do you need to do you need to put inside the moving average? It's by looking at the cycle of, it's by observing how many data points you have in one cycle. So what will be helpful is, okay, this is a calculated Zoom paper. So one thing is, if let's say you have time, then what you can try to do is to key in all the value in your calculator, then you try to observe it from the scatter plot. So the other thing that you try to do is you try to find out the rise and drops in the numbers itself. So for example, from 840 until 927, then you can see it's increase, increase, decrease, and then decrease, decrease again, then increase, increase. So from here to here, decrease, 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 then increase, increase, then decrease, decrease. So since our A here is 816, right? So that's why it's a decrease. So after you write down the pattern, right, then actually you can find out that the change here is always the same. So you have 2 increase, then 3 decrease, 2 increase, 3 decrease, 2 increase, and 3 decrease. So which means in this case, you are going to have a 5-point cycle. So what's that? So you start with this number, right? So you can imagine increase, increase, decrease, decrease, decrease. Then increase, increase, decrease, decrease, decrease. Increase, increase, decrease, decrease, decrease. So which means that you will be having like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and next cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and next cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why by looking at how the data changes and by finding out how many points actually keep on repeating, then you'll be able to identify which moving average is the one that's most appropriate. So in this case, it's actually 5-point moving average. I think a lot of people actually got this wrong. So make sure that you understand how do I get this number from. Okay, so in this case, it will be 5-point moving average. All right, 5-point moving average is most appropriate. So how do you justify? Because the data has a 5-point cycle. All right, so that's the idea. So remember that you cannot assume that, okay, what you can see is, go back to this question, right? Okay, the question actually didn't tell you what is represented by this T though. The question only said that the service center manager recorded the number of customer over the time periods T. So you wouldn't know that whether the T meaning like first day, first hour, first month, first week, or even like first year. So the answer that you try to give me like 4-point moving average, because the manager can actually split the year into 4 equal time periods, like 1 quarter as one. But if let's say I'm doing like this is day, right, then from Monday to Friday, then I also can do 5-point moving average. If let's say I want to put like 4 months, I try to record it once, then I also can do 3-point moving average. So that's why it's not like how you want to divide the time periods to decide what is the point of moving average that you need to do. Is by looking at how many data points, how many periods that you have in one cycle, and this is a thing that going to decide how many point of moving average that you need to do. Okay, so that would be the first idea. So that would be the safest approach to do. Second thing that you can try to look at it is that, you see, right, what we are trying to do in moving average is to make our line to become much more less fluctuated. So the time series plot will become something that is much more flattened. Okay, so which means that after we carry out moving average, right, the data should be given us an idea that is going to give us whether it's increasing trend or decreasing trend. So by looking at the result of your moving average, right, you realize that there's only one column that gives you a continuously increasing or decreasing trend, which is 5-point moving average. So you can see that for 3-point average, the data set that you're having is still increase, then decrease, decrease, then increase, decrease, decrease. oh sorry, this is increase, then increase again. So which means that you can see that it's decreasing trend because from 901 until 81838, but then there are still fluctuation there. When you try to look at 4 point, then you can see this is decrease, decrease, then increase a little bit, then increase again, then increase, then decrease, decrease. Same thing you can see is decreasing trend by looking at the first and the last point. But then that the line still fluctuated. But when you look at this one, then you can realize that this thing is always decreasing. From here to here, decrease, 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 decrease. B is 880.8. So it's decrease also. So here also decrease. So this thing will give you a much more clearer overall long-term trend that this data is having a decreasing trend when you try to observe it. So that's why this can be another reason that you pick 5 point moving average to be the most appropriate one. Because when you try to compare to this one also, you have decrease, decrease, then this increase. So here also increase, then decrease, then decrease, decrease. Okay, so only this one give you a continuously decreasing trend. So which means alternatively, although this will be the best answer lah, I think. Okay, so the alternative that you can try to do is the values in the 5 point moving average column are continuously decreasing. All right, so that's the way that you can do that. All right, so yeah, I think for AB everyone is doing quite okay. It's only except like forecast mistake lah. So part C a lot of people didn't get it, so try to understand that. All right, so now let's move on to the last question. Okay, question 3. The graph below shows the quarterly retail turnover per capita in Australia. So the average amount spent per person at retail outlets for every quarter. All right, so question 1. The question 1 is to complete the time series plot by including the additional information. All right, so just by looking at the numbers, then we try to plot inside. So first one is 3,521. So 3,500, sorry, yeah, 3,500 is here. So 21, you can draw it like slightly above. Okay, so that will be your line. Then after that, the next one is 2980.1. So which means that you will need to look at 3,000. All right, then 2980. So which means it will be a number that is like very close to 3,000. So 39. All right, 2900. So 2950. So 2980 is roughly here lah. Okay, then after that, move on to the next one. We have 3,045. So it's like half, slightly lower than half. Okay, but it should be in the middle. Then after that, the last one, September. So 3075. So it will be higher than just now that one. Okay, so remember to plot your line after this. So just connect the point together. All right. Okay, so make sure when you check your answer, your point is roughly like this. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part. So the equation of the least square lines for the above data is t equals to 9.6143q plus 2986.50. So the question already give you that q equals to 1 when December 2013. So that's why this will be your first data, your second data, and so on lah. All right, then after that, you can just move on. So the question one is to fit this line to the graph. All right, so remember this go back to our bivariate data analysis. So whenever you are given a regression, then you need to fit your best fit line in the data, then which means that what you need to do is to find 2 points, because you know that for you to draw a straight line, you require to have at least 2 points so that you can connect your line together between the 2 points. Okay, so it's good that I actually see some of the people you write down your working here. So yeah, keep up the good work. I'm very happy that you still remember that. So for the people that you are doing like the zigzag line, so make sure that you understand what's your mistake. Then after that, try to improve from that. Okay, so for part B, so which means that in this case, then let's try to use the first point and last point. It will be easier for us to connect the line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So later we are going to substitute 16 as well. Okay, so let's try to substitute the first one first. So when Q equals to 1, all right, so we have T equals to 9.6143 multiply 1 plus 29, sorry for that, 86.50. All right, so after you got this, then let's just use our calculator. Then after that, you'll be able to get your answer, which is equal to 2996.1143. All right, so it's okay that you can try to leave the leave the numbers. If let's say you want to follow the question, then just round it off to 2 decimal places. So in this case, all right. Then after that, we move on to the next one. So we will try to substitute Q equals to 16. Okay, so when T equals to 9.6143, so now substitute 16. So from here, we'll be able to get our answer, multiply 16, and it will be equal to 3140.33. So which means that when we are trying to plotting the graph, then we'll be using these two reference points. So the first one is 2,996, so which means it's very close to 3,000. So we can try to plot somewhere here. Okay, and move on to the next one. So when Q equals to 16, T is 3140.33. So 3140. So it will be slightly middle, then after that below. So 31 is here. All right, 32, 31, 3140 middle. So somewhere here. All right, so after you have your two reference point, then now let's try to connect the line. Okay, so this is supposed to be your line. So make sure that you try to check out whether your line is that a similar one with this. So make sure that it must be a straight line. There's no zigzag, there's no fluctuated because you are drawing a regression line. So you are fitting this regression line in the data. Okay, so no worries about the part where how do you get this regression equation if you are not given. We are only going to talk about that in next week lesson. But basically, you should know how to fit the data because this is a thing that we learned previously in bivariate data analysis. All right, so this will be your answer. Okay, so move on to the next part. Okay, to describe the trend and the seasonality of this data. Okay, so I think majority got the first part. Then second part for the seasonality, then you need to add in some more thing in this question because they are not asking you to find out how many points in the data. They are asking you to describe about the season. Okay, so the first thing is by looking at the regression line, then you should be able to see that it has a long-term trend lah. So in this case, the trend, everyone should have no problem. So that is an increasing trend. All right, so for the part for seasonality, you can talk about the 4 point. So in this case, then you can see that, yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why it's a 4 point cycle. Okay, but try to describe further in one cycle with, and you talk about the high points and the low points. That's the easiest thing to do. So you can see the highest point that you have is always like this point. Then you can see that it's always the quarter for December. Then the lowest point that you have is always the March. Okay, so this is why some information that you can write down. So there are 4 points in one cycle with the high points in the December quarter, and low points in the March quarter. Alright, that's the idea because the question want you to describe. Yeah. Alright, so C, the 4-point centered moving average for March 2017 is 3,152.78, correct to 2 decimal place. The question wants us to find out the actual retail turnover per capita for September 2016. So it means that let's try to look at this information first. So 4-point centered moving average for March 2017. So March 2017 is here. Okay, so this is the value that you are having the, what is that called? You are having a standard moving average for 4-point. All right, sorry, this is, I'm not plotting anything out. I'm just telling you this is the value. All right, so we know that if you are doing like 4-point centered moving average, then you will be using 5-point. Am I right? So that's why this is the middle. So 5-point, then will be 2-point in front and 2-point at the back. So it means that it will be this 5-point that you will be using. So the question want you to find what's the actual retail turnover per capita for September 2016, which is going to be what is this value lah. So then you try to read the question again, then this is something that is possible because you are already given this 4 value. So it means that you half this value plus this 3 value and plus this half of this value and you divide by 4, you should be able to get the standard moving average that's given. Alright, so we try to let this number become our x here. Okay, so let the value of September 2016 be x. Okay, so that's our first value. So 0.5 multiply x. Alright, and then plus the next value that we have is all these 4 value, sorry, these 3 value, and then half the last value. Alright, so that's the shortcut formula that we have. So 3521.40 plus 2980.10 plus 3045.00 plus half. Sorry, I don't think I have enough space. Yeah. Okay, and then I need to divide by, so this is 4-point moving average, right? So that's why divide by 4. Alright, so this answer will be equal to the number that's given in this question, 2152.78. Alright, then you can move on for your calculation. So which means bring 4 to the other side, multiply 4, then minus off all this value that you have. Then from here, then you can try to do your working lah. If you, let's say you need, then after that, your last answer should be equals to x equals to 3053.94. So remember, your answer must be in 2 decimal places because that is the value that's given previously. So that's why in 2dp. Alright, then the thing also you are given like 2dp here lah. Okay, so that's the idea. So the 2 marks normally will be given to the part where you do your, I mean, this is the original equation, right? So this is the most important one. So if let's say you want to skip the steps in the middle, that's totally fine because that's the step that you try to solve the equation. And basically after you type in the whole equation in your calculator by using NSolve, you'll be able to straight away get this value without doing anything one by one also. So that's why the 2 marks here will be given to the first approach, then after that your last answer. Alright, so that's basically for this question. So let me know if let's say there's any question, then spend some time to go through everything. Alright, so that's basically for this video. Thank you.